North and South Korea have started their first official talks in 2 years. The negotiations are taking place in the demilitarised zone between the two countries. There have been recent signs of progress. January the 3rd saw the reopening of a cross-border telephone line. And the following day, Donald Trump delayed the annual military drills with Seoul until after next month's Winter Olympics in South Korea. Well, let's cross now to our reporter, Caleb Morby. Well, Caleb, what more can you tell us about these talks between North and South Korea?
Well, the talks have already started in the shared village in the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. Now, from what we understand, the primary focus of the talks will be in relation to the Olympics, about the participation of athletes from North Korea in the South Korean Olympic Games, which are coming up in February. Now, we also heard from South Korea's reunification minister, and he was saying that he hoped the talks could go beyond that, and it could be a place for easing the tension between the two countries and the tension on the Korean Peninsula that the whole world has been closely paying attention to over the last few weeks and few months. Let's take a look, kind of an overview of what's been going on the Korean Peninsula recently. Now, the administration in South Korea actually jumped at the opportunity to have talks. Now, unlike their predecessors, the Moon administration has always said that it's very open to a diplomatic solution and a diplomatic approach with North Korea. Now, the talks actually come in the aftermath of an announcement and a statement in Kim Jong-un's New Year's remarks, in which he said in his remarks that he was open to having a dialogue with the South. This is what we heard from the leader of North Korea.
If the South really wants reconciliation and unity, we will keep open the doors for talks, contact and exchange to everyone, including the South Korean administration, opposition parties, groups from various fields and classes and individuals.
Now, when it was announced that the talks were going to take place, we heard first on Twitter and then in comments and speeches to the press, we heard from Donald Trump. And he says that he thinks it was his approach in dealing with North Korea in the last year of his administration that was responsible for the fact that the talks are taking place. This is Donald Trump explaining what he thinks caused the talks.
A lot of people have said, a lot of people have written that without my rhetoric and without my tough stance, and it's not just a stance, I mean, this is what has to be done, if it has to be done, that they wouldn't be talking about Olympics, that they wouldn't be talking right now. The era of strategic patience with the North Korean regime has failed.
The United States is prepared to use the full range of our capabilities to defend ourselves and our allies.
We will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea. Little rocket man, rocket fuel for the American economy. He is a sick puppy.
Now, it's certainly interesting that if Donald Trump is responsible for this taking place, that unlike previous dialogues that have gone on in the past, the United States is not going to have a seat at the table. It is only the two Koreas, North and South Korea, that will be engaging in this dialogue that is taking place, this dialogue that's taking place at this very moment. And furthermore, the press is not permitted to be there. There is no journalist presence inside the reunification village. It's not there's no press there. It's only a 5-person delegation from North Korea, the representatives from South Korea. They're the only ones in the room. There is no media there, covering the events. So all eyes are on the Korean Peninsula, and in particular on the demilitarized zone where these talks are taking place, as the world prepares for the upcoming Winter Olympic Games, in which these talks seem to be focused, but many are hoping it'll lead to other issues as well, and the resolution of tensions on the Korean Peninsula.
Certainly so, and let's see what's going to come from this. Caleb Morpin, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Well, for some more insight on this story, we can now bring in Saurabh Gupta, who's an Asia Pacific specialist, which probably takes a lot. It was probably easier to do than say. Thank you very much indeed for joining us here. I mean, do you expect any breakthrough at these talks between North and South Korea?
It'll be a gradual process, but I think there will be a breakthrough definitely with regard to Olympic participation. That is the low-hanging fruit, and I think it can be achieved.
Well, Donald Trump has claimed credit for the talks, saying if I weren't involved, they would be doing no talking or it'd be much more serious. I mean, do you think he's right?
No, I don't think I am certain he is not correct. The credit for this actually should go to the new South Korean administration of President Moon Jae-in. What Kim Jong-un spoke in his New Year's message was in fact a reply to a speech made by President Moon Jae-in in Berlin in early July, where he laid out points on which there could be conciliation with South Korea. Kim Jong-un has responded on each of those points which Moon Jae-in had put out on reducing tensions on the military demarcation line in terms of participation in Olympics, starting exchanges, particularly family reunions, etc., etc. So the credit should go to that. I mean, perversely, Donald Trump should get some credit in terms of North Korea accelerating its nuclear and ballistic missile deterrent so that it now feels that it is reasonably assured that it has that deterrent and can now open talks. So from a perverse perspective, yes, Donald Trump does get some credit. And perhaps we should be a little more generous in saying that he has acknowledged that Moon Jae-in can take a leading role in trying to trying to pursue inter-Korean reconciliation. And for that, I think there is some credit that Donald Trump can take. But this is primarily President Moon who deserves the credit.
Well, as we heard from Caleb there, I mean, unlike previous talks between the two Koreas, the US will not be at the table, despite what we say about Donald Trump. I mean, how could this affect the process?
What it can do and what it can helpfully do is that if there is progress in these talks, slowly, gradually, over a period of time, it then paints the US as the only belligerent and hostile force which is seeking belligerent means in resolving the issue. And that will force the US to do a recalculation of its policy on North Korea and try to see how it can also facilitate more peaceful solutions rather than just hawkish solutions. So from that perspective, it can be useful, but we must also remember in mind that there's only so far that South and North Korea can go, and it is essential that during this period, North Korea does not take any belligerent actions.
Well, on that note, the head of the North Korean delegation said that successful talks would be the perfect New Year's gift. I mean, what do you think North Korea specifically is hoping to get out of these negotiations?
I think North Korea is really genuinely seeking to play the conciliation card. If one reads Chairman Kim Jong-un's speech on New Year's Day, a good third of that speech was devoted to reconciliation with the South. The tone was very respectful and conciliatory. So if North Korea feels that it is at a point where it is sufficiently assured with its deterrent capability, it wants to see how far it can pursue conciliation with the South. Yes, one can never be sure, and so it might be he's just seeking a pause from during which time he can do technological advancements, etc., etc. He might be trying to put a wedge between the US and ROK. But all these things can only be tested once we actually go ahead and allow this process to take shape, and then we will know who stands where. And at this point of time, let's take it in good faith and try to see if we can lower temperatures on the peninsula and deflect the peninsula from the fairly awful trajectory on which it has been moving towards for the past 1 year.
And then, time to be positive then. Saurabh Gupta, Asia Pacific strategist and economic policy specialist there. I knew I'd get it right in the end. Thank you very much indeed for your thoughts. Thank you.